Hey, what's up? This is Hans with Request for Music, and I wanted to have a next look at this sequence repeat thing. So this is not so much a tutorial as more of a demo of looking what you can do next with this. I'm starting off with the same and with a bit of expanded sound that I did with this repeat thing, because in the actual tutorial I only used 4 steps, and I expanded that to 6 steps. So my partial 1 to 6 are all the same kind of sounds, but I use a bit different setting. So first what I did was went back to my normal panel, and I changed my rate to 1 second, so or 1 hertz, so that's 1 each second. So now when I press a button or press the C2 key, as you see, I get this repetition of that sound, yeah, so once every second. And the one sound that you hear now is my my 1 partial. And I've changed the setting for that slightly, so I changed my time slice a bit, changed a bit different modulator settings. And also what I did was change the envelope a bit. So, well, the envelope can be used in slightly different ways. If you think of the peak setting as sort of the first level, if you have a higher modulation settings, you can change the peak value to set how high it will be, and you can set the sustain value as sort of the end value for that. So you can have something like that, for instance. And well, in this case, I didn't do that. I didn't put my sustain level up to get this kind of slope. But I put it down and changed my peak up a bit, something like this. So that was my first partial. Then for the rest, as you can see, I've got all these next partials. So if I select all of those 6, so select my first one and select my number 6 as my last one, you see that sorry, you see that these are my all of my delayed envelopes, and you see that the first one is at 0, the next one takes a longer time. It's actually at 0.25, I think, and then the next one is in between, because the third partial is at exactly 0.5, and so my repetition starts at 1 again. So I've got sort of a 4/16 notes in 0.5, yeah. So the second I don't use that, but I use the third and the 4/16, and then the second and the second quarter, and so on. So if I put my second one on, you get this. If I put my third one on, put my fourth one on, put my sixth one on. Because what I did in the mixer was I changed my transpose for each of those partials. My first one is at 0. My second one is at 7 semitones, which is a fifth. So that's a fifth up from my first. The next one is an octave up, 12 semitones. Next one's going back to 7, so a fifth again. Next one's going back to the 12, octave again. And the last one's going back to my 7. So you get this. Then what I did was go into mod and change some settings. So I could do stuff with modulating the frequency amount, and so the frequency amount is going to change how open the filter is, sort of. And the other thing what I did was add an extra mod wheel setting for the chorus, and so you can hear by clicking on this, you can set the source, and these are the sources that you have. And on the bottom I have my target, so I use the chorus as a target for this. And as you can tell here, I've got different settings for all of those partials, which means that the first one is indeed changing the chorus depth for this partial, and the chorus depth is actually changing is adding an extra octave to it. It's adding a next sort of unison sound at the beginning if you have your chorus very low, and if you put it higher you get up to an extra octave or even higher. So if I switch that on, and if I first take 1, for instance, you hear that my mod wheel is taking care of this chorus, and if I dial it up enough, like this, I've got it about halfway in my mod wheel now, and you get this extra octave up top, and the mod wheel also took care of the FM amount. And if I put it up completely, my mod wheel, I've got it an octave up again. And by changing values for all of those separately, one can be doubled and another one cannot be. So you get a bit more, bit more complex kind of rhythm. So if I put my effects on now, so I put my reverb, my chorus, and my delay on. Okay, so that's on that part. What else did I do? I also, well, I kept my solo sound, which I kept in my partial 7 and 8, so I copied them over there so I could use them there. And on my last partials, I'll let it here. Switch these solos off. Jeez. And switch those last ones on. So the last partial, what I did was change some settings in harmonic and modulator amplitudes on the harmonics, so I get it a bit more snappy, and also did slight change in, added an extra partial on or extra slice in that partial. So that's sort of a basic rhythm kind of thing going underneath. So if I put everything on, last thing that I did was I went into my key dynamics and I took care of the dynamics of my solo sound, which is at that point, and that's also actually being changed by mods a bit on the mod wheel. So it's adding frequency amount when I press the keys. If I something like that. So I can handle a couple of things at the same time, and if I now look at my key dynamics and I press sort of a C octave chord. So if I look here, you can see what I do. In one hand, in my left hand, I take the octave and the fifth in between, and so these top two notes are played by my lead sound, and the lowest one is played by the bass. So now I can play those kinds of chords. And then I still have my hand for my right hand to do solo. So if I wanted to do sort of a Tangerine Dream kind of thing, I could do that. And since I'm using a very, very small keyboard here, it's the Korg MS-20 controller, so just to be simple here, I've got my modulation wheel right next to my lowest C2, so I can actually dial it up there. So yeah, well, something like that again. And Again, this was just a demo of what else you could do. You can hear that if you change the delay times of partials, you can make a bit more complex sequences. Okay, that's it for now. I'll be back with other kinds of sequence possibilities later. Cheers, bye bye.